Hey guys, welcome back to videos. So in this video I'm going to be reviewing as well a brand new movie to come out, well, not so new, came out last week, Terminator Dark Fate. Directed and produced by James Cameron, the Terminator legend himself, and Tim Miller, and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton coming back, Gabriel Luna, Mackenzie Davis, and Natalia, and I can't think of whoever else. But yeah, so before we really get into Terminator Dark Fate, I want to kind of explain the whole Terminator thing, the whole Terminator timeline, because it is so convoluted and just full of just insanity. So let me just kind of break it down for you. Starting off back in 1984, a Terminator was sent back in time from the year 2029 to kill a woman named Sarah Connor because her son would eventually, since in the future a nuclear war happens and started off by a computer system called Skynet that tries to kill all of humanity, and Sarah's son becomes the savior of humanity that forms the human resistance against the machines, and if they kill Sarah before John's born, John will never exist. And to protect Sarah, a human soldier named Kyle Reese is sent back in time as well to defend her and trying to defeat the Terminator, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So through just so many things, the Terminator is just so invincible. Like, they just do so many things to try and kill the Terminator, and the Terminator also does the epic one-liner. Here it is.
I'll be back.
Yeah, he blows up a police station, just does all types of crazy things just to try and kill Sarah. They blow it up with a tanker truck that only just destroys its human cyborg, like its flesh. The middle robotic part is still there. And then Kyle, he sacrifices himself to try and kill it, but he fails and only kills himself. And it's up to Sarah to finally put an end to the Terminator by crushing it to death in a hydraulic press.
You're terminated, fucker.
Yeah, and it turns out that Kyle is actually John's father, which that's kind of a time paradox when your dad's literally technically younger than you. But anyway, so then we get into Terminator 2. Well, what can I say about this movie that has not been said at some point? This movie is really good. It is a pure action movie, it's starring Robert Patrick, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Linda Hamilton back as Sarah Connor. So now John's born, he's 10 years old, it takes place in 1999, or not 99, 1994, excuse me about that. So John's 10 years old, he's a punk, he's just a bratty kid, because Sarah's not in his life because she's locked away in a mental hospital, because, because everyone thinks she's crazy, talking about Terminators and the coming apocalypse coming in 3 years. So they're separated, and another Terminator is sent back. Arnold is sent back in time to kill John, and another Protector is sent back. And plot twist, guess what? The good guy is actually Arnold, the T-800, and the bad guy is, sadly, Robert Patrick as the T-1000, a new type of Terminator, liquid metal, really tough.
Hey!
Get down.
and they just go through and there's so many great action sequences trying to kill this thing, but eventually they corner it and are able to kill it with by throwing it into a liquid, into molten steel, and it burns to death. And And sadly, in order to prevent the coming apocalypse, they also destroy the lab that Skynet's going to come about, because Skynet doesn't exist yet. They destroy it. They pretty much destroy everything, because it turns out that what was left of the original T-800 Terminator from 1984 is kind of like what's the starting point. It would eventually become Skynet, and they destroy everything, but the T-800, the good one, he decides to sacrifice himself in order to make sure that Skynet comes about. And it is so sad when he does it. Like, I was so this close to like crying when that happened. Like, that was oh my god. Then we get into Terminator 3. Now for most, this is pretty much where the Terminator movies begin to suck. For me, not so much. So Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, it is now 2004. Skynet Judgment Day, in fact, did not happen. They prevented it. But John Connor, he still fears that Skynet is gonna still come back. So he pretty much lives like he pretty much just lives like a nomad. He just rides around. He doesn't have a permanent residence. And turns out that John Connor was right to be afraid, because Skynet still exists in the future, because they sent back 2 Terminators. Arnold's the good guy, and there's a new type of Terminator, the female Terminator, the TX, which is basically kind of like the combination of a T-800 and a T-1000. I don't know why they didn't just call it the T-2000, whatever. So both are trying to kill John Connor and any other important people that are going to be part of the resistance. Or, well, one is, but Arnold's a good guy, but you know what I mean. So eventually they find John, and they also find Catherine Brewster, who is going to be John's future wife, and Arnold protects them both, and it turns out that Catherine's father is actually in charge of Skynet, because Skynet is actually being built by the U.S. military. I don't know how they got it, but yeah. So Skynet's being built by the U.S. military, and this is actually very bad because Skynet's actually taken over, slowly but surely taken over pretty much everything run like by computers, and it's hacking its way in. And it turns out that that day, that's when Judgment Day is going to happen. That is when Skynet's going to just start a nuclear holocaust, trying to kill all of humanity. And just as they're finding out about this, the TX catches up with John, Arnold, and Catherine, and Arnold sacrifices himself by pretty much stuffing one of his, he puts one of his power sources, which is actually like a hydrogen bomb, puts it in and just blows it up and explodes. And then Judgment Day happens, and I have to say the ending of this movie is so dramatic and just really, you can truly feel the sadness and the bittersweetness that, you know, the end of the world's here. Like, it starts now.
It could not be shut down. The attack began at 6:18 p.m., just as he said it would. Judgment Day. The day the human race was nearly destroyed by the weapons they built to protect themselves. I should have realized our destiny was never to stop Judgment Day. It was merely to survive it. Together. The Terminator knew. He tried to tell us. But I didn't want to hear it. Maybe the future has been written. I don't know. All I know is what the Terminator taught me. Never stop fighting. And I never will. The battle has just begun.
So now we get into Terminator Salvation. Terminator Salvation shows after the war, and I really find it really good. Basically, it shows John Connor. He is played by Christian Bale. Like, Christian Bale. He's Batman, plays John Connor in this movie. Like, who would ever thought that? And also it stars Anton Yelchin as young Kyle Reese. Like, Kyle Reese, he's young. It shows the war in 2018. So there's older style Terminators, older, like, it's kind of like with modern warfare, at least what we consider modern warfare now. And they're fighting older style Terminators, and it shows the war before it becomes futuristic. And I really like that. It really shows off, and the action's there, just everything's really good about it. I like it. So now we get into Terminator 5, aka Terminator Genesis, and oh boy, this movie's a real doozy. They basically take everything normal from the movie, from the franchise, and replace it with just weird things. Like, they kind of like take cool ideas and they make it into this movie. Like, for instance, John Connor is a Terminator, and Sarah Connor is immediately like a strong, independent person, and she has her own pet T-800. Like, it's the weirdest thing. And they try and stop a alternate version of Skynet called Genesis in a different timeline, and they end up defeating it, but have to fight John Connor, which is now a T-3000. They have to try and defeat him, and they do, and they end up stopping it, but it turns out they don't stop, because in a mid-credit scenes, it turns out Genesis has still survived. Like, it's weird. So anyway, that's really the original franchise. My list, in terms of best to worst, or I mean from worst to best, fifth on the dead last is Genesis. I give that movie a C-. Fourth, I put Terminator 3. I give that movie a B-. And then third, I actually put Salvation. I am one of those people that actually like Salvation. Salvation is a very underrated movie, in my opinion. I give that movie a B+. Then second, probably as most people put it, I put T1. I give that movie an A-. Great, just everything, but it just does not compare to Terminator 2. Judgment Day. That is an A+ movie. Action, characters, everything's great. So now, let's get into the main event, Terminator Dark Fate. I've left you all waiting. So what happens in this movie? Well, right off the bat, John Connor dies. He is shot and killed. It is 1998. John and Sarah, it's 4 years after the events of T2. Skynet has officially is gone. They've stopped it. And John Connor, and all of a sudden they're at like a restaurant, and all of a sudden young Arnold just comes up and he's like, John Connor, and John turns towards him and just boom, he's dead. Like, what? Like, it's crazy. Like, this for most people was like the immediate like, oh my god, this movie's bad, they just killed John Connor. Like, it shocked me, but it's like, wow, like they had to, it was crazy. So then we fast forward to 22 years later into the future. It is now 2020. Judgment Day has not happened at all. Skynet does not exist, but we still have a movie. So all of a sudden, someone from the future comes down and is in Mexico City, and she's kind of appears to be a Terminator, but she actually is not a Terminator. She's just an advanced human. Her name's Grace, and she beats up a bunch of police cars and steals a car and just goes off. Then it gets to the next day, where we have the main character, Danny Ramos, her name, and her brother Diego. They are just about to leave for work, and yeah, just as they're leaving, the actual Terminator drops out, played by Gabriel Luna. Like, yes, that's just a yes on that part. So the two of them, they go to work, and they work at like an auto body, car factory. And it turns out that Diego's job has been taken over. He's been replaced by a machine, and Danny, just being mad, she goes to the boss to question why has my brother been replaced by a machine. Just as that has happened, their dad comes in, but it turns out that comes into their job looking for Danny, but it turns out that is actually not their dad. That is the Terminator disguised as their dad, just like how the T-1000 can disguise itself. So just as Danny is about to talk to the Terminator, Grace shows up and just beats it up and shoots it, and revealing that it actually was not their dad. It was the Terminator, and Grace saves Danny and Diego, and a car chase ensues. This is the car chase that we see at the very beginning of the movie, and it shows off and it reveals that Grace is in fact enhanced. She's an enhanced human, can't talk, and that this new Terminator, the Rev 9 Terminator, it can basically he's kind of like the TTX, where he has a exoskeleton underneath underneath, and on top he has like liquid metal, and he can actually split the two and basically kind of create like two Terminators in one. And I really like that. That's a cool idea. So then, as Danny races and Diego's car, they crash. Diego's unable to get out, and just as the Rev 9 is about to crash, Danny and Grace, they escape, but in the process, Diego was killed. He just says, "Protect my sister," and Grace does so. Guys, I got interrupted. So Danny and Grace are cornered by the Rev 9 Terminator, and just as they're about to be killed, all of a sudden a car comes going up to them, and guess who gets out?
Who are you?
My name is Sarah Connor.
That's right, Sarah Connor, all old. She comes out, shoots the Rev 9, and yeah, saves them, and then she says, "I'll be back," and blows up the thing with a grenade. Yeah, and then Danny and Grace, they steal her car, and Grace just gets really tired because it's revealed that the way she runs, she needs like a lot of water or like medicine to like stay stable. So as they're escaping, they're trying to find a place where Grace can get some medicine, and then just as they're trying to like rob a pharmacist to get some medicine, Sarah comes back and is like, "You stole my car. I helped you guys and you stole my car." So they all go and work together with Sarah, and Grace kind of fills Sarah in on like what is going on, because it turns out in the future that's actually going on. And what actually happens is somewhere down the line a new type of thing called Legion is made, a cyber warfare system, and just like Skynet, it turns on humanity and tries to kill them all. And yeah, and Sarah theorizes that Danny's son is going to be the big important person that saves everyone. So then it's revealed that Sarah has been getting text messages from a certain person, from someone that we don't know, and she doesn't know why, and at the end of every message it's for John, and Grace is able to track where they are coming from, and it's actually they come from the same place where on her leg is tattooed as a person that she should find if she needs help in her mission to protect Danny. So they decide to try and go and sneak across the U.S.-Mexican border to find this person that's in Texas. So they are on their way. They take a train up there to the border and they sneak across, even with the Rev 9 spying on them through Border Patrol. Yeah, that's America right now. So they're able to get there, and they find that, and they're captured by U.S. Border Patrol. And just as the Rev 9 is about to go after Danny, Grace is able to save her, and also Sarah, and they are able to get away and get to the place where they have to go to. And they find out, guess who's the person that they have to find?
I was her.
It's Arnold. Yeah, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a T-800, and it's actually the T-800 that killed John back in 1998. So, what happens? So, turns out that in order to fill the void that throughout all of his time, these 20 years, the T-800 kind of gained a bit of humanity and gained some emotions. He actually started a family, and he kind of is understanding like what it means to be human. He's kind of like being more human, and I really like that. It's really cool. And he decides to help protect Danny and destroy the Rev 9. And he's really funny. Like, he's really funny. He runs a business. Everyone calls him Carl just because, you know, he can't really call himself a T-800. So then they go and try to destroy the Rev 9. They're able to destroy it, and it's also revealed that Grace also reveals to Danny that Danny is the person that unites the future. She is the person of importance. That's why Legion's after her. And so then they're able to trap it, and sadly Grace and Carl, or the T-800, they die trying to sacrifice the they're trying to sacrifice themselves to kill the Rev 9, and Sarah and Danny are all that's left. And yeah, so what I really feel about this movie, I feel so bad for the people. This movie has flopped. It is just doing terrible in the box office. I feel bad for all the actors and everyone that's a part of it. It's doing really bad. This movie, to me, it's not that bad. Like, I don't know why people aren't liking it. I think it's just because, you know, with John being kind of killed and replaced by Danny, I guess that's why people are not liking it. But to me, like, it's not good, but it doesn't ruin the movie. Like, I don't know. I feel this movie, it's not bad. I give it a B+. I tie it with Salvation. I mean, it's definitely the action is what really drives this movie, and the good like how good the actors are. They really are good with this movie. So yeah. The next movie I'm going to watch, I'll give you a hint, stars John Cena. And it's about firefighting and a bunch of kids. This is it. Here's the trailer if you can't guess.
Guns! Those aren't Nerf guns!
Well, now it's a party.
What kind of firefighter are you?
I know you don't see it, but he has a sweet side.
What a rush.
Yeah, Playing with Fire. This movie looks very funny, like with John Cena getting pushed around by a bunch of kids. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Give us a like, consider subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time.
It's over.